Steve the Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles. What's going on, y'all, man? Today we're going to be getting into this incident in which a law firm was caught using AI in a filing and flamed by a federal district court judge here in central Alabama. Let's hop right into there right now, man. Shout out to Ann. Y'all know what's going. In less than a year and a half, Frankie Johnson, a man incarcerated at William E. Donaldson Correctional Facility outside Birmingham, Alabama, says he was stabbed around 20 times. In December of 2019, Johnson says he was stabbed at least 9 times in his housing unit. In March of 2020, an officer handcuffed him to a desk following a group therapy meeting and left the unit, after which another prisoner came in and stabbed him 5 times. In November of the same year, Johnson says he was handcuffed by another officer and brought to the prison yard where another prisoner attacked him with an ice pick, stabbing him 5 to 6 times, as 2 correctional officers looked on. According to Johnson, one of the officers has actually encouraged this attacker to carry out the assault in retaliation for a previous argument between Johnson and the officer. In 2021, Johnson filed a lawsuit against the Alabama prison officials for failing to keep him safe, rampant violence, understaffing, overcrowding, and pervasive corruption in Alabama prisons. To defend the case, the Alabama Attorney General's office turned to a law firm that for years has been paid millions of dollars by the state to defend its troubled prison system, Butler Snow. State officials have praised Butler Snow for its experience in defending prison cases, and specifically William Lunsford, head of constitutional and civil rights litigation practice group at the firm. But now the firm is facing sanctions by the federal judge overseeing Johnson's case after an attorney at the firm, working with Lunsford, cited cases generated by artificial intelligence which turned out to not exist. It is one of a growing number of incidents in which attorneys around the country have faced consequences for including false AI-generated information in official legal filings. A database attempting to track the prevalence of the cases has identified 106 instances around the globe in which courts have found AI, quote, hallucinations in court documents. Hallucinations, let me spell that out. That means it's this AI rap cap, or BAP, if you will, right? Last year, an attorney was suspended for 1 year for practicing law in the federal Middle District of Florida after a committee found he had cited fabricated AI-generated cases. In California earlier this month, a federal judge ordered a firm to pay more than $30,000 in legal fees after it included false generated research in a brief. At a hearing in Birmingham on Wednesday in Johnson's case, the United States District Judge Anna Manasco said that she was considering a wide range of sanctions, including fines, mandated continuing legal education, referrals to licensing organizations, and temporary suspensions against Butler and Snow after the attorney, Matthew Reeves, used ChatGPT to add false citations to filings related to ongoing deposition and discovery disputes in the case. She suggested that so far the disciplinary actions that have been melted out around the country have not gone far enough. The current case is, quote, proof positive that those sanctions were not sufficient. Quote, if they were, we wouldn't be here, right? 30K in sanctions when they blow their noses with that shit, man. These people getting too much bread out the state, man. Y'all heard the judge. She said that shit ain't nothing, Nathaniel, or we wouldn't be here. During the hearing, attorneys for Butler and Snow were effusively apologetic and said they would accept whatever sanctions Manasco determined were appropriate. Yeah, I bet. They also pointed to a firm policy that requires attorneys to seek approval when using AI for legal research. Reeves attempted to take full responsibility. Why are you using AI for legal research in the first place? Quote, I was aware of the limitations on the use of AI, and in these 2 instances, I did not comply with the policy, Reeves said. Damn. Quote, I would hope Your Honor would not punish my colleagues. Attorneys of Butler and Snow were appointed by the Alabama Attorney General's office and are being paid by the state to defend Jefferson Dunn, the former commissioner of the Alabama Department of Corrections in the case. Lunsford, who holds the contract with the state for the case, said he had begun conducting a review of prior filings to make sure there weren't more instances of false citations. Quote, This is very fresh and raw, Lunsford told Manasco. The firm's response to this is not yet complete. Manasco said she would allow Butler and Snow to file within 10 days to explain what their processes will be for addressing the problem before making a decision regarding the sanctions. The use of fake AI citations in the case came to light in relation to a scheduling dispute in the case. Attorneys with Butler and Snow had contacted Johnson's attorneys to set up a deposition of Johnson, who was still incarcerated. Johnson's attorneys objected to the proposed dates, pointing to outstanding documents that they felt they were entitled to prior to Johnson being deposed. I'm sorry, y'all, I got a cold. But in a court filing on May 7th, Butler Snow encountered the case law mandated Johnson be disposed expeditiously. The 11th Circuit and District Courts routinely authorize incarcerated depositions when proper notice is given and the deposition is relevant to claims or defenses, notwithstanding other discovery disputes, they wrote. The attorneys listed 4 cases ostensibly backing up their assertion. It turns out they were all made up. While some of the cited cases resemble citations from real cases, none of them were relevant to the issue before the court. For instance, one was for a 2021 case entitled Kelly v. City of Birmingham, but according to lawyers for Johnson, quote, the sole existing case styled as Kelly v. City of Birmingham that plaintiff's counsel could identify was decided by the Alabama Court of Appeals in 1939 regarding the resolution of a speeding ticket, unquote. What the fuck? Earlier this week, lawyers for Johnson filed a motion pointing out the fabrications and suggested they were the product of generative artificial intelligence. They also found another apparently fabricated citation in a prior filing related to a dispute over discovery. The very next day, Manasco scheduled a hearing to determine whether Butler Snow attorneys should be sanctioned. Quote, in light of the seriousness of the accusation, the court has conducted independent searches for each allegedly fabricated citation to no avail. In a declaration to the court, Reeves said she had been reviewing the filings and that were drafted by a more junior colleague and wanted to include citations for what he believed, quote, to be well-established points of law, unquote. Quote, I knew generally about ChatGPT, unquote, Reeves wrote, continuing that he put in a search for supporting case law he needed for the motions, which, quote, immediately identified purportedly applicable citations for those points of law, unquote. But in his, quote, haste to finalize the motions and get them filed, unquote, he, unquote, or, quote, failed to verify the case citations returned by ChatGPT through independent review in Westlaw or Pacer before including them. I sincerely regret this lapse in diligence and judgment, Reeves wrote. I take full responsibility. Cases in which false AI content is making its way into legal filings appear to be increasing in frequency, said Damian Charlton, a Paris-based legal researcher and academic who is attempting to track the cases. Quote, I'm seeing an acceleration, he said. There are so many cases from the past few weeks and months compared to before. So far, though, the response by the courts to the problem has been remarkably lenient, Charlton said. The more serious sanctions, including large fines and suspensions, tend to come when lawyers fail to take responsibility for their mistakes. Quote, I don't expect it to last, Charlton said. I think at some point, everyone will be on notice. In addition to the Johnson case, Lunsford and Butler and Snow have contracts to work on several expansive civil rights cases against the Alabama Department of Corrections, including one brought by the United States Department of Justice under Donald Trump in 2020. We already know the contract for that case alone was over $15 million for 2 years at one point. Some Alabama lawmakers are questioning the amount the state is spending on the firm to defend the cases. It doesn't appear that the mistake this week has shaken the Attorney General's confidence in Lunsford or Butler Snow to continue their work so far. I know that's right. On Wednesday, Manasco asked a lawyer with the Attorney General's office, who was present at the hearing, whether or not they would stick with Butler Snow. Well, Mr. Lunsford remains the Attorney General's counsel of choice, he responded. The firm responded. Matthew Reeves of Butler Snow acknowledged in a court hearing last month he used artificial intelligence to generate citations in a brief that later turned out to be hallucinations, or CAP, right? A law firm with an attorney facing possible sanctions for filing a legal brief with fabricated citations generated by artificial intelligence said an internal investigation found no other falsified citations in recent filings. Butler Snow LLP said in federal court filing earlier this month that it reviewed more than 50 dockets from an Alabama federal court and the U.S. 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, 40 of which contained, quote, substantive citations for review and did not find any hallucinations in the citations generated from using AI. Quote, the results of these investigations, coupled with the declarations of counsel, indicate that this was an isolated event. Butler Snow stated, quote, the two instances subject to the order to show cause appear to be only the instances of AI-generated hallucinations submitted by counsel of record to this or any other Alabama federal court. Butler Snow says this not to minimize what has taken place in this case, but to provide assurance to the court. Matthew Reeves, a partner with the firm, said in court last month he used blah, 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 citations, Department of Corrections, inmate, alleging the department failed to protect him. Morgan Lewis Bacchus LLP, based in Philadelphia, is the firm that independently reviewed the filing. The firm also included declarations from the attorneys in the case that they have not used AI in this case or any other aside from Reed. Quote, the firm has begun the process of implementing the revised policies and procedures previously described by the court. Butler Snow said in the ruling or in the filing, in addition, Matthew B. Reeves, in conjunction with the plaintiff's counsel and law school professor Anil Mujmadar, engaging in efforts to educate law students regarding the risk and repercussions of the use of AI in legal practice to help deter such conduct by others, unquote. The filing included two legal references that attorneys for Johnson said they could not identify. Reeves admitted to using AI to generate the citations to support his argument without verifying they were accurate or real. Manasco had not levied sanctions against the firm as of late Monday afternoon. Hey, y'all had to come back and put this back in there, but as y'all can see, they were sanctioned and they were kicked off the case, but they had already gotten $40 million out the state since 2020, so do with that what you will, but they were sanctioned finally. And there y'all have it, man. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comment section, right? We got a lot to unpack here as usual, right? So y'all getting real taxpayer M's out the state to defend their BS and can't even make sure the paralegals doing your work are using proper citations for the cases. The caseload is enormous, I'm sure, as I've highlighted in previous videos. The state is compensating this firm generously. I've worked in law firms, and a lot of the paralegals I know that attended law firm or law school said they wanted their name on their work. That was it. That was it. A junior colleague, yeah, motherfuckers know what that mean, read between the lines. Motherfuckers said a junior associate, you know what I'm saying? Instead, just a junior colleague to indicate their inexperience and lack of a license, possibly. Wording, y'all. A firm getting that much bread, attorneys is more than likely just showing up for hearings, man, breezing over footnotes and making these arguments they've made hundreds of times or more, changing the facts and names around. I know for sure, more than likely, some poor soul probably lost their job behind this one, making counsel look foolish like this. AI is taking over. I'm not surprised. It just boosts the confidence of people thinking they can just ask Chat GPT and shit like that. That's why we have so many people analyzing criminal cases on YouTube, for example, whose only experience with the law is being prosecuted. Talking about they rookie lawyers and hood lawyers and shit. Can't even pronounce the Latin. Anyway, man. You know what I'm saying? No sanctions yet probably is going to be enough for them to be publicly flamed by a judge, right? To get your act straight, right? Don't want to make golf on Tuesdays or the Christmas party awkward, do we? Don't want to get that glare from opposing counsel or the judge on your way out the subdivision in the morning when he's watering his lawn, right? Don't want the wives arguing, right? These folks represent the state. Imagine the distrust between actual victims and prisoners trying to get their shit in front of the judges if the state's lawyers are getting over on them or trying to. You see why they submit their own shit wrote on notebook paper and in crayon, ink pens, and pencils, and whatever else they can find in the facility to write with, hoping somebody actually reads the shit to try to get this some traction and get back in court. Why are you using AI for legal research when they've got LexisNexis, you got paralegals, assistants, all them books, Westlaw, Pacer? I guess that takes too damn long, which it does. You know what I'm saying? If you've seen an attorney bill out billable hours and characterize an item billed as, quote, opening and closing a file. You'll see what I'm talking about. Y'all may be saying this ain't a big deal, you know what I'm saying? But if the citation that backs up the law, counsel's referencing is generated by AI, that means what they're arguing is no precedence at all. Completely invalidates it because it's cap. It doesn't exist. Man said he wanted to include citations because they were, quote, well-established points of law. How, Sway, if it don't exist? At least the man threw himself at the mercy of the court and took responsibility, you know what I'm saying? As y'all can see, if a lawyer can try to finesse the state, what you think he gonna do in your case, and you have no knowledge of how the law works? Shout out to the inmates' attorneys, too, for doing their due diligence, man, and not just taking his money and chalk it up as he's cooked anyway, you know what I'm saying? We got a bag off this goof at. Thank you guys for doing more. Y'all let me know what y'all feel about this in the comment section, man. Like, sub, share, donate to the channel's Cash App or PayPal if you feeling generous. I'm getting at y'all when I can. DC The Voice, Alabama Prisoner Profiles.